Okay, can you please tell me about your current project and tech stacks?
Yeah, currently I am working on health and insurance web application, and in this project we are using React.js for the front end and Spring Boot Java for the back end, and for database we are using MySQL. So this project is basically designed to help users to view and compare and apply for health insurance plans. So the front end communicates with the back end via RESTful APIs, and we use Spring Data JPA for interacting with the MySQL databases. And my responsibility primarily includes building UI components using React and integrating with the backend services. And I am working on both right now, on React as well as the backend services which we generate. Like, and those backend services are basically in the microservices. So we all are assigned with the microservices and we work on them.
Are you also familiar with JUnit and Mockito?
Yeah, I have basic knowledge of JUnit, I mean unit testing frameworks. So I haven't worked extensively on JUnit or Mockito in my current project, but I am aware of JUnit, and that is used for writing and running unit test cases, and also Mockito is for mocking the services which uh, we don't want to actually call, and we just want to simulate the behaviors of the dependencies. So yeah.
Okay, so you also have experience on Maven, right?
Yeah, I have worked on Maven as well.
Okay, in Maven, what are its main elements?
In Maven we have dependencies, we have properties, profiles. Yeah, so those things are there. We also have a group ID, artifact ID. So yeah.
Okay, what are the Maven scopes?
Scopes. Uh, we have compile, then provided, runtime, system, test. So yeah, these are the ones right now I'm able to recall.
Okay, so suppose we add a dependency and there we give a scope as provided. Okay, so what is the basically meaning of this? Why we use provided and what will happen with this jar?
Yeah, so a scope basically is used for the visibility and availability of a dependency in different phases of the build life cycle. So when we use provided, then it means that dependency is required for the compilation and for the testing purpose. But whenever we are building the jar or var file out of that Maven project, so in that case, that jar should not be bundled along with. So yeah, that is why we use provided.
Okay, any example you remember?
Yeah, for example, a servlet API. So suppose we have a servlet API, and that is required for the compilation, but usually that is also present as part of the container. uh, I mean, wherever we deploy it. So in that case, we can just simply use provided. So yeah.
Now suppose if you mistakenly use provided scope for a dependency, okay, and that is not actually provided at runtime. Okay. So what will happen?
Yeah, in that case, the compilation will fail. I mean, not compilation. The maybe the application will fail at runtime. So we might get maybe class not found exception or something. So because Maven will not package that dependency, right? And it won't be able to provide that respective jar, and it won't be available when the application executes. So yeah, so it will throw that error.
Hmm. Okay. Which version of Java you have worked on?
Currently, we are working Java 8.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell me what are the intermediate operations in the Stream API?
Yeah, intermediate operations in Java Stream API are operations that return a new stream. So we have like filter, map, sorted, distinct. So these are the intermediate operations. So basically they will not execute until a terminal operation is called. So like we have like dot collect and all. So that is not used till then it won't be executed. So it is lazy also.
So what is functional interface? Or maybe you can tell me what is the difference between functional interface and the regular interface.
Yeah, functional interface has basically exactly one abstract method and it can have any number of default or static methods. So we have like out of the box one like runnable, comparable and all. And in regular interface, we can have multiple abstract methods. So that's the main difference actually.
Okay, so how do you identify whether a interface is functional or not? Is there any way?
Yeah, this is the way. I mean, we should have only one abstract method, and also we can use annotation at the rate of functional interface, so that we can annotate on top of the interface. So that basically will make sure that that interface has exactly one abstract method. If we will put more than one abstract method, then we can see the compilation error.
So why this functional interface is important in Java?
Why this is important? Because this is kind of the we can say the pillar of Java 8. So because of that only we are able to use lambda expression. So we want the code to be more readable and more concise. So we need to use lambda expression for that. So for that functional interface is required. So yeah, so basically functional interface is the backbone of the Java functional programming features. So yeah.
Okay, okay. So do you know method referencing in Java?
Yeah, method referencing, we can say that is kind of a shortcut to write the method. Any so calling method we want to write through the lambda expression. So we use in that case. So for example, we have like let's say we have a for each and we just want to print it out. So system out or println. So system out we can say method referencing and println we can say. So that we basically we uh, write it like colon two colons we can use together. So that makes the method referencing. So yeah, so that's the method reference in Java.
Okay, okay. So what is the purpose of optional class in Java?
Yeah, optional is a container object basically. So that is used to handle null pointer exception. So if you want to avoid null pointer exceptions, so for that purpose we use it. And it may or may not contain a null value. So for example, if we have I mean optional dot off null level, we can just say and we can pass the whatever value we want in that. And basically, if there is no value, still it won't throw the null pointer exception. So yeah.
What is the difference between encapsulation and abstraction?
Yeah, encapsulation is the process of binding data and methods into a single unit. Okay, so we can achieve this by we have to first of all declare the private variable, and we have to expose them through the public getters and setters. So we have to write that also. So that way we can achieve an encapsulation. And coming to abstraction, so abstraction basically means the hiding the implementation details. Okay, so only the essential features we expose and we hide the implementation detail. So for example, let's say we have a abstract class vehicle. So I mean inside that we can just put the method like start, stop, and the method, and there will not be any kind of implementation. So again, we have interfaces also. So through interfaces, we can achieve 100% abstraction, and uh, through this abstract uh, class, we can achieve the partial abstraction. So we can also have the methods which we can declare the implementation. I mean, so in that case, we say it is the partial abstraction. So yeah.
Okay, what is the parent class of all exceptions? Or maybe can you explain me the whole hierarchy?
Yeah, we have a throwable, so that is the parent class of all exceptions, and under throwable we have exception and error. So exception is something which is going to stop normal execution of a program, and error is something like irrecoverable situation. So for example, if system simply crashes, or we have out of memory exception, uh, sorry, out of memory error, stack overflow error. So these kind of things comes under the error, and that is we cannot handle until unless we increase the memory, uh, and again we rerun it. And again in exception we have checked and unchecked exception. So checked exception is basically going to be checked at compile time, and unchecked exception is like it is going to occur at runtime. Okay, so checked exceptions are like IO exception, SQL exception, then file not found exception. So these are the checked exception, and unchecked exceptions are like arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, array out of bound exception. So these are the runtime exception.
Okay, okay, fine. So what is the difference between the serializable and externalizable?
Serializable and
Externalizable.
okay, yeah. So serializable is a we can say marker interface. So it tells the JVM that the object cannot be serialized automatically. So suppose we are writing any bean class, and any of the object we don't want that to be serialized. I mean, any other property we don't want to be serialized. So in that case, we use serializable. And externalizable allows custom serialization logic by implementing some read external method is there, and write external method is there, so that can be implemented, and we can use externalizable. So basically we can use a serializable when the default behavior is okay, and we can use externalizable for performance and security reasons.
Okay, so what is dispatcher servlet in Spring MVC?
Yeah, dispatcher servlet is the front controller in Spring MVC, and it handles all incoming HTTP requests and routes them to appropriate controller methods. So basically, whenever the client sends the request, then dispatcher servlet receives it, and further it finds the correct controller using the URL mapping. Okay, so add controller it finds, and then the method executes and returns the view or data. So that is how the whole flow basically uh, occurs. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, in simple terms, can you tell me what is the difference between get, post, and put methods?
Yeah, get is used to retrieve data, and basically that should not modify the server state. And post submits the data to the server, and it often results for a change. So whenever we want to make some changes to the server side, then we use post. And put basically it updates the existing data, or it can also create the resource if it is not present. So that's the major difference between these.
Okay, what is at the rate of Spring Boot application and what it does?
Yeah, at the end of a Spring Boot application basically consists of three underlying annotations, another annotations. So one is at the rate of configuration, and second is at the rate of enable auto configuration, and then at the rate of component scan. So at the rate of configuration, basically it is a class level annotation, and it means the class can be used by IOC container as a source of the bin definition. So we can give on top of the class at the rate of configuration, and under the that class whatever the methods will be there, that we can maybe give as a at the rate of bin. So yeah, so and then we have at the rate of enable auto configuration. So auto config it is basically auto configures the bean that are present in class path. So this simplifies the developers work by guessing the required beans from the class path, and it configure it from the application. Okay, so for example, suppose we have Tomcat embedded jar in the class path, then we need a Tomcat embedded servlet, like uh, that object, that bean, right, to configure the Tomcat server. So this will be searched and configured without any manual XML configuration, and this will be automatically done. And then we have added a component scan, so it scans the packages and all of its sub packages, looking for classes that could be automatically registered as beans in the Spring container. So yeah, so this is at the rate of component scan. Yes.
Okay, okay, fine. Okay, what is the difference between at the rate of controller and at the rate of rest controller?
A controller is used in MVC web application. So that usually returns the views. Like whenever the model view we have to return, then we can use controller. But usually whenever we have a JSON and XML return types we want to use, in that case we should usually use at rate of REST controller. So REST controller basically means that it is the combination of add rate of controller and add rate of response body. So yeah, so that is the difference between these two.
Okay, okay. So what is at the rate of profile annotation? Do you know?
Yeah, add data profile is used to define different beans for different environments. Like we have different environments: dev, test, pre-prod, prod, UAT, right? So we can write. Let's say we have a different data sources, right? And we want them to be used like whenever we have a UAT environment deployed, then we want to use the data source of UAT. If it is in dev, we want to use the data source of dev, or if it is production, we want to use the data source of production. So in that case, we can simply give add data profile, and there we can give in the like brackets we can give dev and all, so it will start using the dev data source. And also in the properties file further we can go and mention the like if you want to enable devs, and they can enable from there. Yeah, so that is the add data profile annotation.
Okay, okay. Okay, suppose you have the Spring Boot application and for some reason it feels like it is slow. So, what are the steps you follow to speed up the application?
Yeah, if application is slow, then we have multiple steps which we can do. So first of all, we have to identify whether the application is slow while startup itself when we are starting up the application. So if it is slow, then we need to investigate. We have to investigate why the uh, startup is slow, and there might be regions like the loading of the beans might be slow, or like we might have to enable the lazy loading of the beans, right? So whenever we need it, so then only we can load it. And we might also exclude unused auto configurations. So those things we can do, and then we can also look for the code logic wherever the logics has been written. So like uh, if the if the time complexity is more, then we need to find the way how we can reduce it. So maybe it is, if it is n square or something, I mean, then we have to maybe bring out to log n or something. So apart from that, we can also use caching. If uh, every time multiple fetches are being done uh, from the database, so instead of hitting them again and again, we can use caching. Then we can also use actuators, and we can check the health, and we can also use the JVM profilers like visual VM and all, and we can see the if any kind of memory leaks or garbage collections is not happening. So those things we can do. We can also check the logs if any kind of logs, any kind of error or something like that is happening. So based on that also we can get some idea like what is the problem. And apart from that, we can also do the query optimization. So we have to check that as well. We can also use asynchronous and reactive programming wherever possible. So we can use webflux and all, and we can use at the rate of async for the sending emails or any kind of file uploading is happening. So yeah, these are the things which we can do to speed up the application.
Okay, okay. Okay, what is the default logging mechanism used in Java?
Yeah, the default one is logback.
Okay. So in Spring Boot, why we don't have to include the dependency for this?
Yeah, so we don't have to include the dependency for this explicitly. Actually, I think Spring Boot is starter what we use for the starting dependencies, so that includes that already. So we don't have to explicitly go and include it.
Okay. Okay, so how do you change the log label for a specific package in the Spring Boot?
Yeah, that we can change in application.properties or YAML file. So in that, basically we can mention the logging level, and there we can just mention it is debug info or whatever it is. So we can mention over there.
Okay. Okay, so suppose we have some sensitive data in application.properties or YAML file, any password or something. Okay. So suppose we want to secure it. Okay. So how we can do that?
Yeah, so for that we can encrypt it, and we can keep it to the cloud, or maybe uh, in the environment variables, like we can refer it as a dollar and whatever the password is there, right? So in the curly braces we can write that, and further we can refer that to the environment variables. Okay, so at the runtime that is loaded from there. So yeah, so that way we can make it safe.
Okay. So how do you handle versioning in microservices?
Versioning we can do using the like the URL. So we can just say, like, in the whenever we are preparing the controller, right? So we can just say API and like v1 v2 whatever the version is there, and then like suppose we are fetching the customers, so customers again, so that way we can do the versioning for the URL. And for the headers versioning, we can pass the version information in custom headers, like X API version and all. So that we can do. And then microservices versioning, like that maintains the different deployable version of a service. Let's say v1 and v2 are running simultaneously, so behind a gateway or load balancer. So this basically allows canary or blue green deployments. So ultimately whenever we do the versioning, the services should be backward compatible basically. So yeah, so these are the ways we can do the versioning.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Can you tell me in very short, like what are the challenges you have faced with microservices in production environment?
Yeah, I we have faced various challenges, like um, the service communication often fails. So because of the network latency, or maybe a dropped request, or service is down. Okay, so because of that, sometimes we may face the service communication failures. So for that, we can basically use the circuit breaker, and like resilience 4J and all we can use. And then the logging is also kind of complex, because we have to see the logs of various microservices and which one has what issue. So the debugging is also not that easy, but we can use the centralized logging system to overcome this, like ELK system, like Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. So we can use that to further trace it and find out the issue. Then another issue we may face, like of the data synchronization. So keeping the data consistent across the all the services is also a challenge. So that is also there. And the monitoring of the various services at the same time is also not that much of easy. So yeah, these are the challenges we face usually.
Okay, what is service discovery and why it is important?
Yeah, service discovery is a mechanism by which microservices finds the network location of another service instance dynamically. So basically, we whenever any calling method or any client is making a call, so that goes through the API gateway, and API gateway further calls to the Eureka. So basically, this uh, service discovery is of two types. One is client side discovery, and one is the service server side. So client side is like Eureka we have. So there all the services which are running, they register themselves to Eureka, and there can be multiple instances of the services also. So they all will be running on the different dynamic ports. So as soon as API gateway request for the service, So the uh, wherever the service is deployed, that address is given to the API gateway. Okay, so that's how the service discovery works. And further, whatever the response API gateway has received, so that it passes on back to the whatever the calling client is there. So that is how the whole flow works.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, so what are the role of API gateway apart from calling the Eureka?
Yeah, it has various roles. Like uh, the first thing is that request routing. So whatever the request is coming, so it routes that to the service discovery, and then uh, authentication and authorization is there. That also happens there, and then rate limiting also is done there. So this rate limiting basically prevents the overload. Caching also done here to improve the performance, and the aggregation of the services also happens here. So that basically is a combination of the responses are I mean they're combined here from the multiple services and sent back to the whatever the client is calling.
Okay, suppose if you are designing a new human resource management system, then will you use Hibernate or JDBC for the database operations? And whatever you will use and why?
Yeah, so in this case, I will use Hibernate. So with the JPA implementation, so I will try to avoid JDBC in this case for HRMS system. So the main reason is because Hibernate abstracts much of the like boilerplate code, and the in JDBC we need to have the connections we have to establish, and we have to do multiple things. So those things are removed in Hibernate. So that is one reason. Then Hibernate also provides the ORM way, so it allows directly mapping to the database tables using the notations like entity and table we can use. And again, Hibernate also supports the lazy loading, caching, batch processing, and all. So and HQL is there, criteria is there, so all that we can use in case of Hibernate. And it also if you want we can integrate it with Spring Boot. So the JPA like along with the JPA, so it allows easily switching or providers without changing the business logic. So that these are the main reasons why we I will go with the Hibernate.
Okay, okay. Okay, are you aware of HQL and JPQL?
Yeah, HQL is Hibernate query language, and JPQL is Java persistence query language. So the purpose is similar for both, and they allow us to write the database queries based on the entity objects rather than the tables. So JPQL is the standardized with the JPA, and it operates on the JPA managed entities, and HQL is just specific to Hibernate, and it has some additional capabilities. So suppose we have like any department is there, and we want to find by department, so we can just simply write find by department like in the camel cases, and it will be able to fetch the department, and we can write at the rate of query on top of that method, and whatever the query we will write accordingly the method will work. And in HQL we can use like we don't have to write select and all. We can simply write from employee where like e dot department equal to like referencing department. So that way we can write HQL. So yeah, these are the differences, and mostly it is similar only. Yeah.
Okay, so do you know the difference between merge and update in Hibernate?
Yeah, so update is used to reassociate a detached object with a session. So suppose a session has been closed or it is not there anymore and still we want to perform some task. In that case we can go for the update, and merge basically copies the state of the given object onto a persistent object in a session. Then we can go for the merge. We have to just if update it and a session is still active and we want to add something, then we can go for merge, and update we can do whenever the session is closed. So yeah, so this is the difference between these two.
What is the difference between get and load in Hibernate?
Get and load, yeah, so get basically it will return null if the object is not found, and load returns the it is kind of the proxy, so it throws the object not found exception if accessed I mean whatever object is not found. So that is the main difference. So get will return null and load will return the exception.
Okay. Do you do the first level and second level cache in Hibernate?
Yeah, so first level cache is the default, so that is at the session level, and it is automatically enabled. So one session stores the persistent object in memory. So the same object can be loaded twice in the same session. So that is what is the first level cache, and second level cache is it is not default and it is kind of optional we can say, and it is the main difference is it is shared across the session. Okay, so it needs the explicit configuration and a caching provider like ES cache and all. So we have to add that to enable this and use this.
Okay, do you know the purpose of Hibernate HBM to DDL.auto?
Yeah. So basically, it has a few properties or configurations we can say, so that we can validate, we can put or we can put the update, create. So if we are putting validate means it will validate the schema and it doesn't change anything. And if we are putting the configuration as update, then it updates the schema. Okay, and if it will we will put create, then it drops the existing one and it recreates the schema, like I mean every time we are running the application. And we also have none, so it will do nothing, I mean if we put none. So yeah, so this is the uh, properties of this SBM to DDL auto.
Okay, can you tell me the entity lifecycle states in Hibernate?
Yeah, so it has basically four states. First is transient, so whenever the object is new, so that is transient. Then we have persistent, so whenever the session is created and object has been associated with the session. And then we have detached. Detached means when the session has been closed, so that object state we will say that it is in the detached state. And removed means then it is marked for the deletion. So that is these are the four states.
Okay, what is view in SQL?
Yeah, view is a virtual table based on the uh, query. Okay, so it does not store data itself, but it fetches the data from the base table. So, whenever suppose any data which we want to often fetch again and again from the database, so that we can keep it as a view. So it does not have its own data, but the whenever we open the view underlying script, so whatever the script is written, based on that it will be fetching the data from the existing tables, and that will be always passed to the whatever the calling to that view. So that's the view. Yeah.
Okay, what is the main difference between union and union all?
Yeah, union combines the result and it removes the duplicates, and union all will have the duplicates will be there. So that the main difference.
Okay, okay.